All right, everyone. It's lecture day today. I know you weren't expecting that one. I know I threw a curveball at you. So I just want to state I consider myself a metaphysical philosopher. Okay, I don't have any degrees or anything like that. That's just a title that I looked up to see like what I'm interested in this stuff. What do I call myself? Right? I think about it daily. I journal about it daily. I write about it daily. So I'm always in the metaphysical. So lately I've been having some conjectures about thought processes and how thoughts interact with the world and what makes up a thought. Okay. And I know, bear with me, this is metaphysics. Okay. It's not a organized idea of thinking, right? So a thought. So we have a thought. I like Coke. I will get Coke. There's a thought, right? Now, I believe what we have are two different kinds of thoughts. We have a conscious thought and an unconscious thought. So the conscious thought is, I am thirsty. I am going to go get up and get myself a Coke. Now, the unconscious thought could be something along the lines of, you're like, and you just get up and get a Coke. You don't think about it, you just do it, right? So, actually, a better example would be, I'm sitting at my desk. I'm thinking, I'm thirsty. Then I think to myself, what would I like to drink? Oh, I would like to go get myself a Coke. That would be a conscious thought. I thought about the fact that I'm thirsty. I thought about what kind of drink I'd like. I decided, I went up and got it. The unconscious version would be, oh, I'm thirsty. And then I just automatically get up and go get a Coke without any more prompt, without any more thinking about it. That's more of an unconscious thought, okay? Now, the reason this is important is because unconscious thoughts are kind of like computer programs, okay? We make the distinction between brains and computers a lot because it's really accurate, unfortunately. So I like to think of our thoughts as tasks in the task manager, okay? If you've ever used the task manager, you know that you can end processes, you can look at all the ones being used and how much space they take up. So in my point of view, thoughts are programs. And when we allow a thought to stay unconscious within us, we technically have a program running in the background that takes up mental space. It takes up emotional space, depending on what kind of thought it is. And so the best thing that we could do is think about our thoughts. And there's the second layer of this. So we have the first layer of having the thought, the second layer of thinking about the thought, and then the third layer of taking another step back and thinking, why am I having these thoughts, right? So there's three different kinds of thoughts you can have, but that's a little more in depth. Right now, we're just talking about the fact that we have conscious thoughts and unconscious thoughts. So what I've noticed is that, the more you meditate, the more you journal, the more you consider your actions and why you are doing things. So instead of being, I'm thirsty, I'm going to go get a Coke, be like, okay, I don't want to drink Coke anymore, for example. How do I stop this? You have to interrupt the thought of, I'm thirsty and I'm going to go get a Coke. You have to step in right there, or else that unconscious program, if you will take over. You'll get up and go get a Coke. So you have to consciously direct your attention to, I'm thirsty. Consciously direct your attention. I don't want a Coke. I instead want to get water. And that's how you would sort of get in between that conscious and unconscious directive of yours. And I've done this. It's also, I suppose it could also be considered CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, corrective behavioral therapy. I think it's cognitive. Basically, you pay attention to the thoughts that you're having, and you consciously change them. So instead of thinking, God, today's a crappy day, think, okay, no, it's not a crappy day. I woke up late, I'm late to work, I'm upset about that. That's why I consider it a crappy day. It doesn't mean my whole day's crappy. It means that I'm stressed out because I'm late to work in this example. See what I mean? So we have to be willing and able to step back and consider that. It's not like it's, just like everything else in life. It's not okay, I'm going to do this. And then you just immediately start doing it. It takes time. You have to kind of rewrite your programming. If we want to keep using computer language, you have to rewrite your programming so you stop having those unconscious thoughts control your actions. And so that's what I've been writing about recently, because like my video the other day, I discussed how, I wanted to go and play a game in my car, right? And I thought to myself, what actually stopped me was my wife made a silly face when I looked at her, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And she just kind of, I'm being silly. She was just kind of like, yeah, you freaking nerd. But when I saw that, I stopped and I was like, why do I want to do this? See, I had a directive. I was going to go out and play games and record. But seeing her face kind of put a block in between that directive. It made me reconsider my actions. Do I really want to drag all of my stuff out to the car just so I can have an hour to myself playing video games and talking? Or do I want to try this a different way and take the 20 or so minutes I have before work and talk, which is what I'm doing now, instead of trying to cram it in at the end of the day? So her facial expression interrupted my unconscious thought process of what I was going to do, because I've already decided. So it's like I had the conscious thought, I'm going to do this. And then I put it in the unconscious part to keep it there. Kind of like a calendar reminder, It's there. I'm not going to forget. That's what I'm going to do tonight. But seeing her face made me reconsider what I was doing. So I took that directive out and I thought, why am I doing this? And then I changed it. I instead didn't go out to the car. I just hung out inside and went to bed a little earlier than I probably would have. So we all have these things, and this is how we think. And regardless of if it's to the extreme that my thought process is, I am almost certain that all of us in some way or another have this sort of function within our brains. Because we are all the same. We may look different, we may act different, we have different quirks, but ultimately we're all humans. We all have the same brain biologically, right? So biologically, we, I think, should have the same thought processes for the most part. Now, naturally, that's not the case always, I'm sure. Some of the stuff you're like, whoa. But that's just my understanding of it. So to bring it back, we have our conscious thoughts and our unconscious thoughts. And this is what journaling helps with as well. Corrective behavioral thinking, cognitive behavioral thinking. I'm going to get back to that. I don't know. CBT is what it's called. It's something that I was introduced when we did therapy a while back. And it's listening to your thoughts. That's another good point. Let me go back to that. So I said we have 3 different layers of having a thought. So we have the unconscious thought. We have, I need to pee. Oh, my body says, oh, I gotta pee. Unconsciously, I'm like, okay, it's time to go pee. So I don't need to think about it, because I feel it. The thought comes, it happens. It's a natural sort of thought process. So it's a program running in the background. Then our Coke example. You want to stop drinking Coke. I'm thirsty. Put yourself in right there. Say, I'm thirsty, but I don't want to have a Coke. I will have water. You are consciously changing your thought process to not have Coke and have water instead. And then the third layer of that is taking another step back and thinking, why do I want to stop drinking Coke? Why do I want to do these things? And then you have, I want to be healthier. You have all those other reasons. So you can think upon thinking upon thinking. Another example I used was, you're driving down the road. Someone cuts in front of you. Instinctively, you're like, what a jerkwad. And you just say it, right? That's an unconscious, just instinctual response. Maybe not instinctual. It's an unconscious response with anger, right? Someone cuts in front of you. Oh, screw you, man. Then you take yourself out and you're like, why did I say that? Why what does I mean? And then you step back a little bit more. And the more you step back, the more you think about why you are having the thoughts you are, the more you realize that some of your thoughts aren't yours. And that's a whole nother subject we could get into, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'll leave you with that cliffhanger. Some of the thoughts you have are not yours. I don't quite know or understand where they come from, how to get there, etc. I don't really know the details of that yet because I haven't really thought about it. I can't definitively say recently which thoughts are not entirely mine, but it's more to do with like our egos and other people's egos and thoughts in general. Anyway, so to tie it back, like I said earlier, we have our conscious thoughts and our unconscious thoughts. Okay, take the day and think about what you're thinking about. Listen to your thoughts. And it sounds weird to say it, but when you try it, you'll realize that you can. You just got to try. You may be having bad thoughts, and then you can step back again and be like, you can listen to them and think, why am I having these? Where is this coming from? And then you can kind of learn to trace them back to their origin. Because every thought has an origin. Everything has a cause and effect. There is no cause without an effect, and vice versa. Okay, it's not how it is. It's not how life works. Something we look at and we're like, whoa, that's weird. It is really that's a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's multiple different actions from that perspective leading up to that coincidence that you saw. So it didn't just happen without anything spurring it on, for example. Like, I guess the best example of that would just be a light post just all of a sudden appearing or disappearing, right? Like, and even then, there would have to be a reason, a cause, to make the light pole disappear or reappear. But to me, it would just be like, whoa, that was a freaking weird thing? How did that happen? See what I mean? I know that's probably an extreme example, but it gets the point across. So now that I've babbled enough about this, I think it's time for me to go inside. But thoughts are what create our world. Thoughts are what create our personal perspective and world. So if I have negative thoughts, if I only have negative thoughts about how much I hate everything, then my personal world is full of hate. Vice versa. If I have nothing but happy-go-lucky love thoughts, then, my world is full of love. But obviously, those are two extremes, and you don't want an extreme. You want a happy medium, okay? Because either extreme is bad. You can never have a good day, or you can have blissfully ignorant days where bad stuff is going on, but you're just like, oh, la-da-da, I don't need to worry about it, la-da-da. Like, that's not okay. Neither of those examples is a good thing to do. You want a happy medium of, I am at peace, but I am also aware of the negativity, the things I need to work on, etc. But I am at peace. That's the medium you should be looking for. And I think a lot of this stuff would be beneficial if it was discussed more. Even if it sounds weird, even if it sounds like pseudoscience, right? Like, I'm talking about how our thoughts have impacts on our lives. And when I first heard that, I was like, what? But when you start thinking about it and you start reading about it and you start journaling, you realize that thoughts have some substance, have an energy of some sort. And we're just ignorant of what that energy is as a whole. We're just ignorant of that. And I think that's awful, frankly. I think being ignorant of everything is awful. So, there's your lecture for today. Think about your thoughts, okay? Look up CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm going to go with that one. And journal. Write down your thoughts, especially if you're having a bad day. Write down, why am I having a bad day? And write down all the reasons. Write down every single reason that comes to your mind, okay? And then you can read those and you can think, where did this come from? And then you can write about that and realize that all of this is stemming from the fact that 10 years ago, someone said something that really stuck with you. Yeah, that was my case. That has been my case. Years ago when I was a kid, People have said things that have stuck with me and have changed how I behave and think because of that. So the idea that we have unconscious thoughts and feelings hanging around in our person is not out of this world. So consider that for today. This will come out. I don't know when this will come out. Who cares? It'll come out at some point. So have a good day. Be kind to yourself. And I'll talk to you guys later.